before the flood, before Noah built the ark, before the world was washed clean by judgment. The Bible gives us one of the strangest passages in all of Genesis. It is only a few verses long, but it has haunted readers for thousands of years. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful.
The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful.
The Nephilim were on the earth.
They took wives for themselves.
Then, almost immediately,
and in
the
those
story
days,
moves toward
the
the flood.
Nephilim were on the earth.
Violence fills the world.
Then, almost
humanity
immediately,
becomes corrupt.
The story moves toward
and
the
God
flood.
decides that the earth
Violence
cannot continue as it is.
Humanity
but the
becomes
question
corrupt.
remains: who
and
were
God
the sons of
decides
God?
that the earth cannot
Were they
continue
angels?
as it is.
Were
But
they
the question
powerful rulers
remains,
who crossed forbidden boundaries?
Who were the sons of God?
Or were they something
Were they
even
angels?
darker? In later
Were they
Jewish
ancient
tradition,
kings?
these mysterious beings were given a
descendants
name:
of Seth?
the
Were they
Watchers.
powerful rulers who
But instead crossed a boundary they were never meant to cross.
Or were they something even darker? In later
According to the
Jewish
Book of
tradition,
Enoch, they
these
descended to
mysterious
earth.
beings were given
They took
a name,
human wives.
the Watchers,
They fathered
angelic
giants.
beings who were
They
supposed
taught
to watch
humanity
over the
forbidden
world,
knowledge.
but
Weapons,
instead crossed a boundary they were never
sorcery,
meant to cross. According
cosmetics,
to the Book of Enoch,
astrology,
they descended to earth.
secrets of heaven
They took
that human beings
wives.
were not meant to
They
possess.
fathered giants. They taught
And
humanity
through
forbidden
them,
knowledge,
the world became violent, corrupted,
weapons,
and ready for judgment.
sorcery, cosmetics,
The Watchers are not
astrology,
described in full detail in
secrets
Genesis.
of heaven that
Their
human
story
beings
appears in
were
later
not meant
writings.
to possess.
In ancient Jewish
Through
tradition,
them, the world became violent,
In the Book of Enoch,
corrupted, and ready for judgment.
in
But
fragments
here
among
is
the
the
Dead Sea
mystery.
Scrolls.
The Watchers are
And in
not
echoes that
described
may be
in
heard
full
in the New
detail
Testament.
in Genesis.
So
Their
who were the
story
Watchers
appears
really?
in later writings.
Were they fallen angels? Were they
in
mythic symbols
ancient
of forbidden
Jewish
power?
tradition,
Were they memories of
Book of
ancient
Enoch,
tyrants?
in fragments
Were they
among
theological
the Dead Sea
warnings about
Scrolls,
corrupted knowledge?
and in echoes
Or were
that
they
may
part
be
of a
heard in the
forgotten
New
worldview,
Testament?
where heaven
So
and
who
earth
were
were
the
closer
Watchers
than we
really?
imagine?
Were they fallen angels?
Tonight, we are going
Were
to
they
enter
mythic
one of the
symbols
darkest
of
and most
forbidden
fascinating
power?
mysteries in biblical
Were they
tradition.
memories of ancient tyrants?
Not to sensationalize it,
Were they theological warnings
not to turn
about
scripture
corrupted
into
knowledge?
fantasy,
Or were they
but to
part of a
understand why
forgotten
ancient
worldview
people
where
told
heaven
this story
and earth were closer than we imagined?
and why it still refuses to
Tonight,
disappear?
we are going to enter one of the darkest
Humanity
and most
begins to
fascinating
multiply on the face of
mysteries
the
in
earth.
biblical tradition.
Daughters are born.
Not to sensationalize
The sons of
it,
God see that they are
not
beautiful.
to turn scripture into
They
fantasy,
take wives.
but to understand why ancient
Children
people
are
told
born
this
from
story
these unions.
and why it still refuses to disappear. The mystery begins
And the
in
Nephilim
Genesis
are mentioned as
chapter
mighty
6.
men of old,
The
men of
passage is
renown.
brief,
Then the
almost
tone
too
changes.
brief. Humanity begins to multiply on the face
God
of the
sees
earth.
that human wickedness
Daughters
is
are
great on the
born.
earth.
The sons of God see that they are beautiful. They take wives. Children are born from
And the
these
flood narrative
unions.
begins.
And the
That is all
Nephilim are
Genesis
mentioned
gives
as
us.
mighty men of old,
A few strange
men of
lines.
renown. Then the
No
tone
long
changes.
explanation.
God sees
No
that
names
human
of the sons
wickedness
of
is
God.
great on the earth.
No
Every
detailed description
inclination
of
of
the
the human
Nephilim.
heart is evil
No
continually.
list of forbidden teachings.
The earth is
No
filled
direct
with
use of the
violence,
word Watchers.
and the flood
It
narrative
is as if
begins.
Genesis opens a door for
That
a
is
moment.
all Genesis gives
Lets
us.
us glimpse something
A few
terrifying in the
strange
ancient
lines.
world.
No long
And
explanation.
then closes it.
No names of the sons of God.
Some Jewish and Christian
No
readers
detailed
understood the sons of
description of
God
the Nephilim.
as angels,
No list of forbidden
beings
teachings.
from the heavenly realm,
No
who
direct
violated the
use of
boundary
the
between
word
heaven
Watchers.
and earth.
It is as if Genesis opens a
Others
door for a
understood them
moment.
as human rulers,
Lets us glimpse something terrifying in the ancient world.
kings or tyrants
then closes
who took
it.
women by force.
That silence
and created
is what
violent
created
dynasties.
centuries of interpretation.
Another later
Some
interpretation
Jewish
saw
and
them as the
Christian
righteous
readers
line of Seth,
understood the sons of
intermarrying with
God
the
as
corrupt
angels.
line of Cain.
Beings from the
Each
heavenly
view
realm
tries to protect
who
something.
violated the boundary
The
between
angelic view
heaven
takes
and
the
earth.
supernatural language seriously.
Others understood
The royal
them
view
as
focuses
human
on abuse
rulers.
of power and ancient
Kings
kings
or
who
tyrants
claimed
who took
divine
women
status.
by force and created
The
violent
Sethite view
dynasties.
tries to keep the story within
Another
human
later
genealogy.
interpretation saw them as the righteous line of Seth,
But the
intermarrying
ancient
with
interpretation
the
that
corrupt line
became
of
especially
Cain.
powerful in Second Temple
Each
Jewish
view
tradition
tries to
was
protect
the angelic
something.
one.
The angelic
sons of
view
God
takes
were
the
heavenly
supernatural
beings.
language seriously.
They sinned.
The royal
They
view
descended.
focuses on abuse of power
they became
and
known
ancient
as the
kings who
Watchers.
claimed divine status.
The word Watcher
The
suggests someone
Sethite view
assigned
tries
to
to keep
observe,
the story
to
within
guard,
human genealogy.
to remain
But
alert.
the ancient interpretation that became especially powerful in Second
In some
Temple
ancient
Jewish
texts,
tradition
heavenly beings
was
are
the
pictured as
angelic
watchers
one.
over creation,
The sons
nations,
of God
or
were
divine
heavenly
order.
beings.
But in the
They
Enochic
sinned.
story, the Watchers do
They
the opposite.
descended.
They do not
They
protect
became
boundaries.
known as the Watchers.
They break them.
The word
They do not
watcher
preserve
suggests
order.
someone assigned
They
to
corrupt it.
observe, to guard, to remain
They do
alert.
not simply watch humanity.
In some ancient texts,
They enter
heavenly
humanity's
beings
world
are
in
pictured
rebellion.
as watchers over creation, nations,
The Book of
or
Enoch
divine
expands
order.
the few verses of
But in the
Genesis into a
Enochic
much
story,
larger story.
the watchers do the opposite.
In that tradition, a group of
They
angels
do
led
not
by figures
protect
such as
boundaries.
Semyaza and Asael
They break
descend
them.
to Mount Hermon.
They do not
They
preserve
swear an
order.
oath together.
They corrupt
They
it.
bind themselves to
They
a
do
shared
not
act
simply
of
watch
rebellion.
humanity.
They take
They
human
enter
women.
humanity's world
Their
in
children
rebellion.
become giants.
The Book of Enoch expands the few verses of
And the
Genesis
giants
into
fill
a
the
much
earth with
larger
violence.
story. In that
But the
tradition,
story does
a
not
group of
stop
angels
there.
led by
The
figures
Watchers
such as
also teach.
Semyaza and Asael descend
That may be
to
the
Mount
most
Hermon.
unsettling part.
They swear an oath together.
They teach humanity
They
knowledge
bind
that seems
themselves to a
powerful,
shared act of
useful,
rebellion.
and dangerous.
They take human women.
The making of weapons,
Their children
the
become
use
giants.
of metals, enchantments,
And the giants fill
astrology,
the earth with violence.
signs of heaven,
But the story does not stop
the
there.
beautifying of the body,
The Watchers also teach. That
arts
may
that
be the
increase
most
human
unsettling
control,
part.
seduction,
They
power,
teach humanity
and
knowledge
violence.
that seems powerful, useful, and dangerous.
The problem is not knowledge
the
itself.
making of weapons,
The Bible is not
the use of
anti-knowledge.
metals,
Wisdom is praised
enchantments,
throughout Scripture.
astrology,
But the Watcher's story is about
signs of
knowledge
heaven,
torn away from holiness.
the beautifying of the body,
Knowledge given
arts
without
that
moral
increase
formation.
human control,
Power
seduction,
given without
power,
obedience.
and violence.
Technology
The problem is
given
not
into
knowledge
a violent
itself.
world.
The Bible is not anti-knowledge.
Secrets
Wisdom
given to
is
humanity
praised
not to
throughout
heal
Scripture.
it, but to
But the
accelerate its
Watcher's
corruption.
story is about knowledge torn away from holiness.
That is why the Watchers remain
Knowledge
so
given
disturbing.
without moral formation.
They are not just monsters.
Power given
They are teachers,
without obedience.
and the knowledge they give makes
Technology
the world
given
worse.
into a violent world.
This is one of the
Secrets
deepest
given
themes
to
in the
humanity,
story.
not to heal it, but to accelerate
Humanity
its corruption.
does not fall only
That is
because
why
it
the
is
Watchers
ignorant.
remain so disturbing.
Sometimes humanity
They are not
falls
just
because it learns
monsters.
too much too quickly,
They are teachers,
without wisdom,
and the knowledge
without
they give
humility,
makes the world worse.
without
This is
restraint.
one of the deepest themes
A
of the
weapon
story.
can protect,
Humanity
but it can also
does not
murder.
fall only because it is
Beauty
ignorant.
can express dignity,
Sometimes
but it can
humanity
also become
falls
manipulation.
because it learns
Astronomy
too much
can
too
inspire
quickly.
wonder,
Without wisdom,
but astrology can
without
become control.
humility, without restraint,
Metalwork can build
a
tools,
weapon can protect.
but it can
but
all
it can
forge
also
instruments of
murder.
war.
Beauty can express dignity.
The
But
Watcher's
it can
story
also become
asks a
manipulation.
terrifying question.
Astronomy can inspire
What happens
wonder,
when heavenly knowledge
but
enters a
astrology
violent
can
human
become
heart?
control. Metalwork can build tools.
The answer, in
But
the
it can
Enochic
also
tradition,
forge
is
instruments of war.
catastrophe.
The Watcher's story asks a
The giants
terrifying
born
question.
from the Watchers and human
What
women
happens
consume
when
the
heavenly
earth.
knowledge enters
They
a
devour
violent
resources.
human heart?
They
The
turn
answer,
against humanity.
in the Enochic
They
tradition,
turn against
is
animals.
catastrophe.
They turn against
The
one another.
giants born from the
Violence
Watchers
becomes
and human
unstoppable.
women consume
Creation
the earth.
itself cries out,
They devour resources.
and heaven responds. The
They turn
Watchers are
against
judged.
humanity.
The
They
giants
turn
are
against
destroyed.
animals. They turn against
And the
one
flood
another.
becomes not only a judgment on
Violence
human
becomes
wickedness,
unstoppable,
but also a
Creation
response to
itself
cosmic
cries
rebellion.
out. and heaven responds.
This is not the
The
simple
Watchers
version
are
many
judged.
people remember from
The
childhood.
giants are destroyed,
In the childhood
and the
version,
flood becomes not
happens
only a
because
judgment
people
on
are
human
bad.
wickedness, but also a response to cosmic rebellion.
In the Watchers tradition,
This is not the
the
simple
world is
version many
corrupted from
people
above
remember from
and
childhood.
below. Human
In the
violence and
childhood
angelic
version,
rebellion become
the flood
intertwined.
happens because people
Earth
are bad.
is ruined because
In
boundaries
the
have
Watchers
collapsed.
tradition,
Heavenly
the world is
beings have
corrupted
abandoned
from
their
above
place.
and below.
Human beings
Human
have embraced
violence and
corruption.
angelic rebellion become
Giants fill
intertwined.
the world with terror,
Earth is ruined because
and
boundaries
creation
have
itself
collapsed.
becomes wounded.
Heavenly beings have
But we
abandoned
must be
their
careful here.
place. Human beings have embraced corruption. Giants fill the world with terror.
The Book of Enoch is not part
And
of the biblical
creation
canon for
itself
most
becomes
Jewish and
wounded.
Christian traditions.
But we
It
must
was
be
known
careful
in the world
here.
of early Judaism,
The Book of Enoch
It
is
is
not
preserved
part
in
of
the
the
Ethiopian
biblical
Orthodox
canon
tradition.
for most Jewish and Christian
and
traditions.
echoes of Enochic ideas
It
appear
is
in later
highly
texts.
important for understanding ancient Jewish thought.
But for most
It was
churches and
influential.
synagogues, it does not carry
It
the
was
same
known
authority
in the
as
world
Genesis.
of early Judaism.
That distinction matters.
It
Genesis
is
gives us
preserved
the
in the
seed of the mystery.
Ethiopian Orthodox
Enoch
tradition.
gives us one ancient interpretation
And
of that
echoes
seed.
of Enochic ideas appear in later
And later
texts.
readers must decide how the
But for
two
most
relate.
churches and synagogues, it does not carry the same authority
Still,
as Genesis.
the Enochic story
That
became
distinction
powerful
matters.
for a reason.
Genesis gives us the seed of the mystery.
It explains
Enoch
something
gives us
Genesis
one
leaves
ancient
mysterious.
interpretation of that seed. and later readers must
Why does the
decide how
flood
the
come
two
so
relate.
quickly after the sons of God
Still,
and
the
the Nephilim
Enochic
appear?
story became powerful for a reason.
Why is the world suddenly filled with
It
violence?
explains something
Why does the
Genesis
text
leaves
speak of mighty
mysterious.
figures of old?
Why does the flood come so
Why do
quickly
later
after the
passages
sons
speak of angels
God
who sinned
and the Nephilim
and were
appear?
kept for judgment?
Why is
The Watcher's
world
tradition
suddenly
weaves
filled with
these
violence?
threads together into
Why
one
does the
dark
text
tapestry.
speak of mighty figures of old?
And the New
Why
Testament
do
may
later
preserve
passages
echoes of this
speak of
world.
angels who sinned and were kept for judgment? The Watcher's tradition
Jude
weaves
speaks
these
of
threads
angels who did
together
not
into
keep their
one
proper
dark
domain,
tapestry,
but abandoned their dwelling.
and the New Testament may
2 Peter
preserve
speaks of
echoes of
angels who
this
sinned
world.
and were cast
Jude
into gloomy
speaks of
chains to
angels who
await
did
judgment.
not keep their proper domain, but
These
abandoned
verses
their
do not
dwelling.
retell the whole
2
Watcher's
Peter
story.
speaks of angels who sinned and were cast into gloomy
But many
chains
scholars
to
see them
await
as drawing
judgment.
from the same interpretive
These
world,
verses do not retell the whole Watcher's
a
story,
world where certain
but
angelic
many scholars
beings
see them as
rebelled,
drawing from the same
crossed a forbidden
interpretive
boundary,
world. A world
and were
where
imprisoned
certain
until the
angelic
final
beings
judgment.
rebelled, crossed a forbidden boundary, and were imprisoned until the final judgment.
Jude even quotes a
Jude
prophecy
even
attributed
quotes
to
a
Enoch
prophecy
later in the chapter.
attributed to Enoch later in the chapter.
That does not automatically
That
mean
does
the
not
entire Book of
automatically
Enoch
mean
is
the
being
entire
canonized,
Book of Enoch is being canonized.
but it does show
But
that
it does
Enochic
show
tradition
that
was known
Enochic
and
tradition
meaningful in
was
some
known
early
and
Jewish and
meaningful
Christian
in
contexts.
some early Jewish and Christian contexts.
This is why the Watcher's mystery cannot
This is
be
why the
ignored,
Watcher's mystery cannot
even if
be
Genesis is
ignored.
brief.
Even if
Even if
Genesis
Enoch
is
is
brief.
outside most canons,
Even if Enoch is
the
outside
story
most
shaped the
canons.
imagination of ancient
The
readers,
story shaped
helped
the
them think about
imagination
evil.
of ancient readers.
not only as
Helped
human
them
choice,
think about evil. Not only
but as a
human
corruption of the
choice,
created order,
but as a corruption of the
not
created
only as
order.
rebellion from below,
Not only as rebellion,
but as rebellion
from below,
from above.
but as rebellion
The
from
Dead Sea
above.
Scrolls make the story
The
even
Dead
more
Sea
fascinating.
Scrolls make the story even
Among
more
the ancient
fascinating.
manuscript fragments found
Among
near the
the
Dead
ancient
Sea were
manuscript
texts connected
fragments
to
found
Enochic
near
tradition.
the Dead Sea
This
were
means that
texts
stories about
connected to
Enoch,
Enochic
Watchers, and
tradition.
Giants were being copied,
This means
preserved,
that stories
and
about Enoch,
studied in
Watchers,
some
and
Jewish
Giants
circles
were being
before
copied,
or around the time of
preserved,
early
and
Christianity.
studied in some Jewish circles before or around
One
the
related
time
work
of early
is often
Christianity.
called the Book of Giants.
One related work
survives
is often
only in
called the
fragments.
Book of Giants.
Because of
It
that,
survives
we cannot
only in
reconstruct
fragments.
everything with certainty.
Because of that, we cannot reconstruct
But the
everything with
fragments show
certainty.
that the story of the
But
Giants
the
had a life
fragments
of its
show
own.
that the story of the Giants had a
Giants'
life
dream.
of its own. The Giants' dream.
They fear
They
judgment.
fear judgment.
They seek
They
answers.
seek answers. Enoch becomes
Enoch
a figure
becomes a figure
connected
connected
with
with
heavenly knowledge and
and
interpretation.
interpretation.
The world of Genesis 6 grows
The world
into
of
a
Genesis
large
6
mythic and
grows
theological
into a large
landscape.
mythic and theological
But
landscape.
again, fragments are fragments.
But again, fragments
they are not a
fragments.
complete book.
They are not a
They are
complete
broken
book.
windows into a lost
They
library.
are broken windows into a lost
We must
library.
not pretend they tell us more
We must
than
not
they
pretend
do.
they tell us more than
But
they
what
do.
they do show is
But what they
important.
do show is
The
important.
Watchers were not a modern invention.
The Watchers were not a
They
modern
were part
invention.
of ancient Jewish
They were part of
imagination.
ancient Jewish imagination.
They belong to the same
They
world
belong
of
to the same world of interpretation
that
that asked,
asked, why is evil
why
so
is
deep?
evil so deep?
Why is violence so old? Why do human beings
Why do
use
human
knowledge
beings
to
use
destroy?
knowledge to destroy?
Why do empires
Why do
become
empires
monstrous?
become monstrous?
Why does the world before the flood
In that sense,
feel so broken?
the Watcher's story is not
In
merely
that
about
sense,
angels
the
and
Watcher's
giants,
story is not merely
is about the origin of
angels
corruption.
and giants.
and that makes it relevant
It is
far
about
beyond
the origin
ancient
of
myth.
corruption.
Consider the
That
figure of
makes it
Asael
relevant
in
far
Enochic
beyond
tradition.
ancient myth.
He teaches humanity how to
Consider the
make
figure
weapons
of
and ornaments.
Asael in Enochic
On the
tradition.
surface, these are
He
arts of
teaches
civilization,
humanity how to make weapons
metalworking,
and ornaments.
craft,
On the surface,
beauty,
these are arts
power.
of civilization.
but the story presents them as morally
Metalworking,
dangerous when separated from God.
craft, beauty,
Weapons lead
power.
to bloodshed.
But the story
Adornment
presents them
leads
as
to seduction
morally
and
dangerous
pride.
when separated
Secret
from
knowledge
God.
becomes fuel for
Weapons
domination.
lead to bloodshed.
This does not mean
Adornment
every
leads
tool
to
is evil.
seduction and pride.
It means that knowledge is
Secret
never
knowledge
neutral in a
becomes
corrupt
fuel
heart.
for domination.
That is a shockingly
This does
modern
not
idea.
mean every tool
Human
is
beings have
evil.
always feared the knowledge they
It
cannot
means
control.
that knowledge is never neutral
Fire,
in a corrupt heart.
metal, war
That is
machines,
a shockingly modern idea.
alchemy,
Human
magic,
beings have always feared the knowledge they cannot
nuclear
control.
power,
Fire,
artificial intelligence.
war
The
machines.
details change.
Alchemy.
The
Magic.
question remains.
Nuclear power. Artificial intelligence.
What happens when beings with
The
limited
details
wisdom receive
change.
power beyond their moral
question
maturity?
remains.
The Watcher's story
What
is
happens
ancient.
when beings with limited wisdom
But its warning
receive
feels
power
modern.
beyond their moral maturity?
Forbidden knowledge is not
Watcher's
only
story
knowledge
is
that should
ancient.
never exist,
but its
Sometimes it is
warning
knowledge
feels modern.
received at the wrong time,
Forbidden knowledge
by the
is not
wrong
only
hearts,
knowledge that should never exist.
for the wrong purpose.
Sometimes it is knowledge received at the wrong time.
That is what makes the Watchers
by
different
the
from
wrong
simple
hearts,
demons in popular
for
imagination.
the wrong purpose.
They are not only destroyers,
That is what makes the Watchers different
They
from
are
simple
corrupters of
demons
wisdom.
in popular imagination.
they turn learning into
They are
domination.
not only destroyers.
They turn beauty
They are
into
corrupters
temptation.
of wisdom.
They turn power
learning into
violence.
domination.
They turn heaven's
beauty
secrets into Earth's
temptation.
ruin. This
They
is why
turn
their
power
punishment in
into
Enoch is so
violence.
severe.
They turn
They are
heaven's
bound,
secrets into Earth's ruin.
imprisoned.
This is why their punishment
Held
in Enoch
until
is
judgment.
so severe.
Their children,
They are
the
bound,
giants, are destroyed.
imprisoned.
But even after
held
the giants
until
die,
judgment.
later tradition
Their
sometimes
children,
imagines
the
their
giants,
spirits
are
continuing
destroyed.
as sources of demonic influence.
But even after the giants die, later tradition sometimes imagines
view,
their spirits
evil does
continuing
not
as sources
vanish
of
easily.
demonic influence.
the bodies
In
are
that
gone.
view, evil
But
does
the corruption
not vanish
remains.
easily.
Again,
The bodies
this
are
is
gone,
not spelled out in Genesis.
but the corruption remains.
It belongs to later
Again,
interpretive
this is
tradition.
not spelled out in Genesis. It
But it
belongs to
shows how
later
ancient people
interpretive
tried to
tradition.
explain the persistence of
But it
evil
shows how
after the
ancient
flood.
people tried to explain the persistence of evil after the
If
flood.
the flood judged the
If
old
the
world,
flood judged the old
why
world,
does evil
why
remain?
does evil remain? Why do violence, idolatry, oppression, and demonic forces continue?
The
The
Watchers'
Watchers' tradition offered
one
one answer. The rebellion before the flood left consequences that continued
The rebellion
to haunt
before
the
the
world.
flood left
But
consequences
there is
that
another
continue
way
to
to
haunt
read the
world.
story. Some scholars
But there
and
is another way
theologians
to read the
prefer to
story.
understand the sons of God as human rulers. In the ancient Near East, kings
Some
often
scholars and
claimed divine
theologians prefer
status
to
or
understand
divine
the sons
sonship.
of God as human
They
rulers.
took women.
In the ancient Near
They
East,
built
kings
harems.
often claimed divine
They
status
used power
or divine
without
sonship.
restraint.
They took women.
They produced dynasties of warriors
They built
and
harems.
heroes.
They
In this
used
reading,
power without
Genesis
restraint.
6 is not about angels marrying women.
They produced dynasties of
It
warriors
is about
and heroes.
tyrants. Men who claim divine privilege
In this reading,
and
Genesis
treated
6
women
is not
as
about
possessions.
angels marrying women.
The Nephilim
It is about
then may be
tyrants,
remembered as violent warrior figures.
Men who claimed divine
Mighty
privilege
men of old,
and treated women as
famous
possessions.
perhaps, but not
The
righteous.
Nephilim, then, may be
This
remembered as
interpretation
violent
has its
warrior
own
figures.
power.
Mighty men of
It
old,
connects Genesis
Famous,
6 to
perhaps,
a theme that runs throughout
but
the
not
Bible.
righteous.
Human
This
rulers
interpretation
trying
has its
to
own
become
power.
gods. Pharaoh,
It connects Genesis
Nebuchadnezzar,
6 to a theme
the
that
king
runs
of
throughout
Tyre
the
in
Bible.
prophetic
The
imagery.
king of Tyre in
The
prophetic imagery.
builders of Babel.
The builders of
Again
Babel.
and again, the Bible warns that when power
Again and
tries
again,
to become
the
divine,
Bible warns that when
violence
power tries to
follows.
become divine,
So even if the
violence
sons
follows.
of God are read as kings,
So even if the sons
the
of God are
message
read as
remains
kings,
dark.
the message
They
remains
cross
dark.
boundaries.
They cross
They
boundaries.
take.
They
They
take.
dominate.
They dominate.
The world fills with
And
violence.
the world fills with violence.
Another interpretation sees
Another
the sons of
interpretation
God
sees the
as
sons
the
of
line
God
of Seth and
as
the
the
daughters
line
of
of
men
Lily.
as the line of Cain.
Seth and
This
the daughters
reading
of
became
men as the
popular
line
in
of
some
Cain.
later Christian traditions because it avoids the difficulty of angelic beings
This
marrying
reading
human
became
women.
popular in some later Christian
According to
traditions
this
because
view, the passage is about the mixing of the
it
godly
avoids
and
the difficulty of
ungodly
angelic
lines,
beings
a
marrying human
collapse
women.
of spiritual separation, a corruption of
According to
covenant
this view,
identity.
the passage is about the
But
mixing of
critics
the
of this
godly
view
and
argue that the
ungodly
phrase
lines.
sons of God often refers
A
to
collapse
heavenly
of
beings
spiritual
in
separation.
other Old Testament contexts.
A corruption of
They
covenant
also
identity.
point out that Genesis itself does not clearly
But
identify the
critics of this
daughters of
view
men
argue that the
as
phrase
Cainites
sons of
or the sons of God as Sethites.
God often refers to
This is
heavenly
why the
beings in
debate
other Old
continues.
Testament contexts.
The text is brief enough to allow multiple readings.
They also point
It's
out that
strange
Genesis
enough
itself
to
does not
resist
clearly
simple
identify the
explanation. And that may be
daughters
the
of
point.
men as Cainites or the
Genesis
sons of
6
God as
feels like a
Sethites.
fragment of a larger
This is why
ancient
the debate
memory.
continues.
A
The
small
text is
piece
brief
of a
enough to
story
allow
that was
multiple
already
readings,
known to its first
but
audience,
strange enough to
but
resist
not
simple
fully
explanation.
explained to us.
And that may be the point.
It is like finding a
Genesis
broken
6 feels
inscription
like a
in the
fragment
desert.
of a larger ancient
A
memory.
few words
A
survive,
small piece of a story that was already
Enough
known
to
to its first
disturb us.
audience, but not fully
not enough to
explained to us.
satisfy us. The
It is
Watchers
like
are what
finding a
grew in the
broken
space
inscription
between
in the
those
desert.
words. But
A
why
few
would
words
ancient
survive.
Jewish writers expand the story so
Enough
dramatically?
to disturb us.
One reason may
Not
be the
enough to
problem of
satisfy
evil
us.
under empire.
The Watchers are what
Many
grew
Jewish
in the space
apocalyptic
between those
writings
words.
emerged in periods of oppression, crisis, and foreign domination.
But
When
why
the
would
world
ancient
feels
Jewish
ruled
writers
by
expand
violence,
the story so
people
dramatically?
begin to ask cosmic questions.
One
Why
reason
are the wicked
may be the
so
problem of
powerful?
evil under empire.
Why do empires crush the innocent?
Many Jewish
Why
apocalyptic
does
writings
forbidden
emerged in
knowledge
periods
seem
of
to
oppression,
belong to the
crisis,
violent?
and foreign domination.
Why does heaven allow
When
corrupt
the world
rulers
feels
to rise?
ruled by violence,
The Watcher's
people
story
begin to
answers
ask
by
cosmic
saying,
questions.
the world's corruption is
Why are the
older
wicked
than the
so
empires
powerful?
you see.
Why do
It
empires
reaches
crush
back
the
before the
innocent?
flood.
Why does forbidden
It
knowledge seem
involves
to belong to the
rebellion
violent?
against heaven itself.
Why does heaven allow corrupt
But
rulers
God
to
has
rise?
not forgotten.
The Watcher's story answers by
Judgment
saying,
is coming.
the world's
wicked
corruption is
powers will
older
be
than the
bound.
empires you see.
The giants will fall.
It reaches back
The
before the
hidden
flood.
things will be revealed.
It involves rebellion against
That is the
heaven
voice
itself.
of apocalyptic literature.
But God has not forgotten.
Looks at history
Judgment
and
is
says,
coming. The wicked
what you
powers
see on
will be
earth is
bound.
connected to a
The
greater
giants will
conflict.
fall.
But it also says,
The hidden things
evil
will
is
be
not
revealed.
eternal.
That
The
is the voice
Watchers
of
may
apocalyptic
descend.
literature. It
The
looks at history and
giants may
says,
rise. Violence may
what
fill
you see
the
on
earth,
earth is connected
but
to a greater
judgment
conflict.
still belongs to God.
But it also says,
That message would have mattered deeply
Evil
to
is not
oppressed
eternal.
communities.
the Watchers
People
may
living
descend.
under empire
The
needed to
giants
know
may
that
rise.
monstrous power
Violence
was
may
not
fill the
ultimate.
earth.
They needed to
judgment
know that
still
heaven
belongs
saw
to
what
God.
earth suffered. They needed to know that no rebellion,
That message would
human
have
or
mattered
angelic,
deeply to
could
oppressed
escape
communities.
judgment forever. This is why Enoch
People living
becomes
under
such an
empire
important
needed to
figure.
know that monstrous power was not
In
ultimate.
Genesis, Enoch is a mysterious
They needed
man
to know
who walked with God,
the heavens
and then
saw
he was
what
not,
earth suffered.
because God took him. That brief
They needed to know
description
that
made
no
him a
rebellion,
perfect
human
figure for
or
later
angelic,
imagination.
could escape judgment
If
forever.
anyone could travel between earth
This is
and
why
heaven,
Enoch becomes such an
if
important
anyone
figure.
could receive visions,
In Genesis,
if
Enoch is a
anyone could
mysterious
act
man
as
who walked
messenger
with
between God and
then he
rebellious
was not,
angels,
because
it would
God
be
took
Enoch.
him.
In the Watcher's story, Enoch becomes the scribe,
That brief description
mediator,
made him a perfect
the one
figure
who
for
hears
later
the plea of
imagination.
the fallen beings, the
If
one who
anyone could
receives
travel
heavenly
between
judgment,
earth and heaven,
the one who sees
if anyone
mysteries
could receive
hidden
visions,
from ordinary humans.
in the Watcher's story,
That role
Enoch
matters.
becomes the scribe,
Because the story
the
is not
mediator.
only about rebellion,
the one who
It
hears
is
the
about
plea of the fallen
revelation.
beings,
who has the
the one
right
who
to
receives
reveal
heavenly
heavenly
judgment,
secrets.
the one who sees
The
mysteries
Watchers
hidden
reveal
from ordinary
forbidden
humans.
knowledge in rebellion.
That role
Enoch
matters,
receives heavenly knowledge
because
and
the story
obedience.
is not only about rebellion,
That contrast is crucial.
it is about revelation.
Not all hidden knowledge is evil,
Who has the right to
but
reveal
knowledge must
heavenly
come from
secrets?
the right source.
The Watchers reveal
For the
forbidden
right
knowledge
purpose,
in rebellion. Enoch receives
In the
heavenly
right
knowledge in
relationship with
obedience.
God, the Watchers
contrast
steal
is
and
crucial.
corrupt knowledge.
Not all hidden
Enoch
knowledge is
receives
evil,
and witnesses.
but knowledge
That
must
is the
come
difference
from the right
between
source,
forbidden knowledge and
for the
holy
right purpose.
revelation. One
in
grasps,
the right relationship with
the
God.
other is given.
The
one
Watchers steal and
destroys,
corrupt knowledge.
the other
Enoch
wrongs.
receives and witnesses.
One feeds pride.
That
the
is
other
the difference
produces
between
fear of
forbidden
God.
knowledge and holy
So
revelation.
who are the Watchers really?
One grasps,
The answer depends
The other
on
is
which
given.
layer of tradition we are reading.
one destroys,
In Genesis,
the other warns.
we meet the mystery in its shortest
one
form.
feeds pride.
The sons of
the other
God,
produces
the
fear of
daughters of
God.
humans, the
So who
Nephilim,
were the
and the
Watchers
rising
really?
violence before the flood.
The answer depends
In
on which
1
layer
Enoch,
of tradition
the
we are
Watchers
reading.
are rebellious angels whose sin
Kind.
corrupts the world. In the
In
Book
Genesis,
of Giants,
we meet the
their
mystery in its
offspring
shortest
become
form.
part of a wider story
The sons of God,
dreams,
the daughters of
judgment, and
humans, the
destruction.
Nephilim, and the
In
rising
Jude and
violence
2
before the
Peter,
flood.
we may hear echoes
In
of
1
angels
Enoch,
who sinned
the
and are
Watchers are
held for
rebellious
judgment.
angels whose sin corrupts the
In
world.
later interpretation,
In the Book
the
of Giants,
Watchers become
their
part of
offspring
the
become
larger
part of a
story
wider story of
demons,
dreams,
giants,
judgment, and
forbidden
destruction.
knowledge, and cosmic
In Jude
rebellion.
and 2 Peter, we may
But
hear
beneath
echoes
all
of
these
angels who
layers is
sinned
one
and
warning.
are held for judgment.
There are boundaries in
later
creation,
interpretation, the
between
Watchers
heaven
become
and
part
earth,
of the larger
between power and wisdom,
story of
between
demons,
knowledge
giants,
and holiness,
forbidden knowledge, and
between
cosmic
desire
rebellion.
and obedience, between watching
But beneath
and
all these
possessing.
layers is one
The
warning.
Watchers fall
There are
because they
boundaries in
refuse
creation,
those boundaries.
Between heaven and earth,
They
between
see.
power and
They
wisdom,
desire,
between knowledge
take.
and holiness,
they teach,
between desire and
they
obedience,
corrupt,
between watching
and the
and
world
possessing.
breaks.
The Watchers
That
fall because they
pattern is
refuse
older
those
than the
boundaries.
Watchers.
They see,
It echoes
they desire,
Eden.
they take,
The fruit
they
is
teach,
seen,
they corrupt,
desired,
and the world
taken.
breaks.
knowledge
That pattern
is
is older
gained,
than the Watchers.
but
It
innocence
echoes Eden.
is lost.
The fruit
It echoes
is seen,
Babel.
desired,
Humanity
taken.
rises together,
knowledge is gained,
builds upward,
but innocence is
reaches
lost.
toward heaven.
It echoes Babel.
Pride scatters them.
Humanity rises
It
together,
echoes Pharaoh.
builds upward,
A man sits on
reaches
a throne,
toward heaven,
claims
but
control,
pride scatters them.
hardens his heart.
It echoes Pharaoh.
Egypt falls.
A man sits on a throne,
The Watcher's story
claims
belongs
control,
to that same biblical pattern.
hardens his heart.
When created
and
beings
Egypt
refuse
falls.
their place,
The Watcher's
when they
story
try to
belongs to that
seize what was
same
not
biblical
given,
pattern.
the result
When
is not
created beings
freedom,
refuse their place,
it is ruin.
when they try to seize what was
That
not
may
given,
be why the
the
Watchers
result
still
is
fascinate
not
us.
freedom.
Not because we know every
is
detail,
ruin.
not because every question is
That
solved,
may be why the Watchers still
but because
fascinate
their
us.
story touches something
Not because we
deep.
know every
The
detail,
fear that knowledge
not because
can
every
corrupt,
question is solved,
the fear that power can
but because their
deform,
story touches
the
something
fear
deep.
that beauty can seduce,
The fear that knowledge
the
can
fear
corrupt,
that the world is
the fear
shaped
that
by
power can
forces we
deform,
barely
the
understand,
fear that beauty can seduce,
and
the
the
fear
hope
that
that
the world
even
is
the
shaped
darkest
by forces
rebellion
we
is not
barely
beyond
understand.
judgment. The Watchers are terrifying because
And the
they
hope
stand at the
That
boundary
even
of
the
worlds.
darkest rebellion
They
is
are
not
not
beyond
fully
judgment.
They are not
The Watchers
simply
are
divine.
terrifying because they
They are
stand at the
heavenly
boundary of
beings
worlds.
turned downward.
They are not fully
Guardians who
human.
became violators.
They are not simply divine.
Teachers who became corruptors.
They are heavenly beings turned
Observers who
downward.
became rebels.
Guardians who
Their
became
story reminds
violators.
us that evil is not always
Teachers who
ugly at
became
first.
corruptors.
Sometimes it
Observers
arrives
who
as
became
beauty,
rebels.
as knowledge,
Their story reminds us that
progress,
evil is not always ugly
as
at first.
power,
Sometimes
as
it arrives as
something that
beauty,
looks like illumination.
as knowledge,
Only later do we
progress,
see the violence
as
it has
power.
released.
as something that
That
looks
is
like
why
illumination.
ancient people remembered the
Only
Watchers
later
with
do we
fear.
see the violence it has
They
released.
were not just monsters
That is
hiding
why
in the
ancient
dark.
people remembered the Watchers
They were
with
the
fear.
warning that even light
They were
can
not just
become
monsters
dangerous
hiding
when
in the
severed
dark.
from God.
They were the warning that
So
even
are the
light can become
Watchers
dangerous
real?
when severed from
Were
God.
they angels?
So are the
Kings?
Watchers real?
Symbols?
Were they angels? Kings?
Ancient memories?
Symbols?
A theological
Ancient memories?
explanation for why the world
A theological
before the flood
explanation for
became
why
so
the world
violent.
before the flood became
Perhaps
so
the most
violent?
honest answer is this.
Perhaps the
Genesis
most honest
gives us a
answer is
mystery.
this.
Enoch
Genesis
gives us an ancient interpretation. The Dead Sea Scrolls show that this interpretation mattered deeply to some Jewish communities. The New Testament may preserve echoes of the same tradition. And readers across centuries have continued to wrestle with it because the question has never really gone away. Where does evil
come from?
Why does knowledge become violence?
Why does knowledge become violence?
Why do the powerful take
Why
what
do the
they
powerful
want?
take what they want?
Why does the world before judgment always seem to ignore the warnings?
The Watcher's
The
story does
Watcher's
not answer
story does
every
not
question,
answer every question,
but it gives us an
but it
image we
gives us an
cannot
image
forget.
we cannot forget.
Heavenly beings
Heavenly
descending in
beings
rebellion.
descending in rebellion.
Giants
Walking the earth.
And God preparing to
Forbidden
judge a
knowledge
world
spreading
filled
among
with
humans.
violence.
Enoch
It is a
standing
dark
between
story,
heaven and the fallen,
but it is not hopeless.
and God preparing
Because the
to judge
Watchers
a
are
world
judged.
filled with violence.
The giants do not rule
It is a
forever.
dark
The
story,
violence of the old
but it
world
is
does not
not
have the
hopeless.
final word.
Because the Watchers are
Noah
judged.
is preserved.
The giants
flood
do not
passes.
rule forever.
A new
The
beginning
violence
comes.
of the old world does not have the final word. Noah is preserved.
And hidden behind the terror
The flood
is a
passes.
truth that runs through the entire
A new
Bible.
beginning comes.
God sees
And
what
hidden
corrupts the
behind the
world.
terror is a truth
God hears
that
what
runs
violence
through the
does to the
entire
innocent.
Bible. God sees what corrupts
And God
the
does
world.
not allow rebellion to
God
remain
hears
unchallenged
what
forever.
violence does to the innocent.
The Watchers may be one of the
And God
strangest
does
mysteries
not
in
allow
biblical tradition,
rebellion to remain
but maybe that
unchallenged
is why their
forever.
story matters.
The Watchers
It
may
forces
be
us to
one of the
ask
strangest
what kind of
mysteries
world
in
we are
biblical
building with the
tradition.
knowledge we possess.
But maybe that is why their story
It
matters.
forces us to ask whether
It
power
forces
has
us
made us
to
wise,
ask what kind of world we are
or only
building
more
with the
dangerous.
knowledge we possess.
It forces us to ask
It
whether we are
forces us
watchers
to
in the
ask
right
whether
sense,
power has made us
guardians
wise,
of what is good,
or only more dangerous.
or watchers who have
It
become
forces us
consumed
to ask
by what
whether
we were
are
only meant
watchers in
to
the
guard.
right sense. Guardians of what is good.
Before
Or
the
watchers
flood,
who have
the
become
world was
consumed
filled
by
with
what
violence,
we were only meant
and
to
somewhere
guard.
in the memory of ancient
Before the
tradition
flood,
stood
the
the
world was
Watchers,
filled with violence.
beings who looked
And
down from
somewhere in
heaven,
the memory
crossed
of
the
ancient
line,
tradition stood the Watchers,
and taught humanity secrets it
beings
was
who
not
looked
ready to
down
carry.
from heaven, crossed
Their
the
names
line,
are debated.
and
Their
taught
nature is
humanity
disputed.
secrets it was
Their
not
story
ready
is
to carry.
fragmented.
Their
Their
names
names
are
are debated.
debated.
Their nature
Their
is
nature is disputed.
Their story is
Their
fragmented.
story is
But
fragmented.
their warning remains.
But their warning
Not every
remains.
light leads to life.
Not every
Not
light
every
leads
secret
to
should be
life.
opened. Not
Not every
power
secret
should be taken.
opened. Not every power
And
should
when
be
knowledge
taken.
is separated from holiness,
When knowledge is separated from
even
holiness,
giants can be born.
even giants can be born.